Hi everyone and welcome to episode 42 of the Link Building Show, and today we're here with Andrew, and today we're going to talk about how to structure an email to journalists.
So Lee, what is your preferred way of structuring an email for a journalist?
Well, I personally just send the press release, and usually that means either the headline or if you have an infographic is at the top of the email. It's the first thing that they read. I try to make the headline as enticing as possible to get clicks, to get them to click on it, and to get them to keep reading once they actually do click on it. So that's how I do it. I know that some people like to have like a little bit of an introduction to the press release. They might write like a couple lines saying what the press release is about. They might specialize it to a certain journalist. They might personalize the email, for example. But that is personally the way I do it, and I found success in that. But there's obviously other ways you can do it that obviously I'm not going to say are bad, but they pretty much there's any way you can do it, and it's just up to you, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think the top thing to consider with any PR outreach is the journalist's time. The journalists are getting thousands of these emails. They know the game. They know it's a press release. They know that we're trying to get coverage for our clients. So I don't think you need to kind of pretend otherwise. And that's why I also think, the most effective way and the easiest way is to just go straight in there with a press release. Your press release is, the information that you want the journalist to see. And it is, if it's a well-written press release, if it's effective, if it's interesting, then that's what they want. They don't need their name being referenced or a little summary. Like the release should already be giving that summary, explaining the detail. And so, yeah, I think that's, a very effective method, especially if you're kind of doing outreach on a kind of larger scale, where you're going to struggle to write personalized emails for each individual journalist. Just going with, putting your faith in the quality of your press release, the quality of your story should lead to good results, and is the best way to structure an email for journalists.
Definitely, yeah, that's really good. It's really good to know, because I like I said, I know a lot of people do different things, but I've had a lot of success through just that. And I think a lot of journalists, actually, I've had more follow-up from that as well. I used to kind of write quite a lot, and I feel like it wasn't, I was just thinking maybe I could change it up a bit, and I did change it up, and I actually had overall more success. So
yeah, I did it. I think people can almost convince themselves there's kind of a magic formula if you reference, if you reference, say, oh, I really love the piece you wrote on this, or make it really personalized to the journalist, that it's going to make a huge difference to them. I say that's potentially going to have an effect in some cases. But there's not enough of an effect for you to spend the time doing that if you want to get an email out and get it in front of a wide audience. If you've got a super specific story that is only relevant for a sort of niche subset of journalists, and maybe there's sort of 10 publications out there that might want to talk about it, then I would say, yes, structure your email in a personalized way, because it's not going to take you that much time. But if you want to get a major story out that would be of interest to hundreds of different media titles, then it's going to be pretty effective to just go with the press release itself and not worry too much about the personalization.
Yeah, I think also on a couple of occasions I've had a journalist reach out to me and say they want to receive more of my press releases, or they want me to let them know if I write anything. So in that case, I might do more of a personalized, longer introduction to my emails, and that way they kind of feel more at home. They kind of feel like there's a relationship developing, so they're more likely to write about it. I've had a couple of occasions where they just pretty much big publications have got back to me and said, oh, we'd love to receive more of your stuff. I've sent them something. They've been really nice with it, and it's got me somewhere. So
that's a really good point about relationship building. We see a lot of people talking about, you need to have good contacts in journalism. You need to build up relationships with these people, and actually starting with that is almost like it's like the reverse way of going about it. What you have done is the more effective way, because you've proven your value to the journalists initially by sending them relevant stories that are going to be good for them, and then they have then requested more from you, and they have almost initiated the relationship. That's a super beneficial way of doing it. If you had just reached out originally and said, I would love to share this release with you, and kind of done that, it probably would have been indifferent. They were interested based on the quality of the story that you were providing. So that's a major element. Like talking, journalists haven't got time for relationship building without getting something out of it. They want good stories from it.
Yeah.
For people, there's a lot of talk about having good relationships, having good contacts. You can't do that unless you are providing high quality content that journalists find value in. So that approach of a simple email, non-personalized, has actually then led you to a better relationship. So it's almost the reverse of what people might expect.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think structure of email can depend on the type of campaign that you're sending out. So would you say there's a big difference if you're sending out a reactive, which is responding to a news event, versus a campaign, which is more kind of evergreen and, permanently relevant?
Yeah, I think when it comes to reactives, I think there's like less to the data. Usually it's kind of like one line of text or one line of data, which is hard hitting. So I think for these, usually the press releases themselves are a lot shorter. And in most cases, I don't send anything before the press release. It's just the press release with a hard hitting headline, with a hard hitting statistic. And that's what gets me the most success. I think you don't really have to write as much for an evergreen campaign or for an reactive compared to an evergreen campaign. And I think for evergreen campaigns, you're usually going to have lots more data. You're going to have maybe a top 10 of something. So I think for this, it's definitely going to be more in length in the structure of the email.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with a reactive, time is the most crucial element. We mentioned time, talking about saving time when you want to send out to multiple people, and therefore personalization might not be beneficial. But that is just even more maximized when you're talking about doing a reactive. You're responding to a news event. You don't know how long that is going to be talked about in the news, and you have to get out your content quickly. So there's even less reason to start personalizing that information. You just want to get it out. You want to get all, like you say, all the key stats you've got. It's just 1 or 2 bits of data, get them across, maybe include a quote from your client, and get it out there as quickly as possible. Again, and the journalists similarly are also pressed for time. They don't want to, they are looking for stories on this topic again, so they don't need to read through your intro about thought you might be interested in the below. Just show them what is going to be of interest to them. That's going to be much more effective for you.
Definitely.
The other overall thing about structure of an email or general outreach, structure in a press release is the fundamentals of writing a press release, which is get your most interesting information, your most compelling angle up front, include that in your headline, make sure your headline conveys the story, make use of the difference between a subject line in an email and the headline below it, and then bullet points, because those are the main things that journalists are going to see in the the kind of preview of the email. So that structure is incredibly important. You can't waste too much space with stuff that isn't really grabbing their attention. So again, that structure is about what's the most interesting thing you can get across right at the top of the email.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. All right, thank you, Andrew, for being here. Yeah, that was really good information. So I hope you learned something. We'll see you in the next one.